Have you ever sat by the window on Sunday afternoon, watching other residents' families arrive with smiles and flowers while your phone remains silent? That moment when you check, again, to make sure your cell phone is charged and the ringer is on, because surely they wouldn't have forgotten to call this week. That hollow ache that spreads through your chest as you realize it's been 24 days since your daughter last visited? I know that feeling in my bones. I'm Dr. Bob. For 42 years, I counseled nursing home residents through their family struggles. Now, at 78, after my hip fracture last year, I've joined their ranks. And despite everything I thought I knew, nothing prepared me for how it would feel the first time my son canceled our weekly visit with a quick text. "Crazy busy, Dad. Next week for sure." Next week became next month. 2 years ago, after a fall that fractured my hip, I made the difficult decision to move into Lakeside Gardens. And despite knowing everything I know professionally, I still remember that first night, lying awake wondering, will I slowly fade from my family's memory? Will I become just an obligation, a chore to check off their list? Before I continue with Margaret's story, which took a surprising turn that changed everything, if this conversation is resonating with you, I'd like to invite you to join our community. I started this channel after realizing how many of us are facing these exact same struggles alone. Each Tuesday, I share what I've learned through both professional experience and my own journey as a resident. No sugarcoating, no empty platitudes, just honest talk about navigating this chapter with dignity. Hit subscribe and the notification bell if you'd like to be part of this conversation. As Margaret discovered, none of us should have to figure this out alone. Let me tell you about Margaret, who sits 3 tables over from me at breakfast. For 32 years, she was a school principal, respected, accomplished, the kind of woman who commanded attention when she entered a room. 6 months after moving here, I noticed her hands trembling as she tried to butter her toast during our morning coffee group. "You okay, Margaret?" I asked. She looked up, and the devastation in her eyes took my breath away. "My birthday was yesterday, Bob." Her voice cracked. "My son used to call every day when I first moved in. Then it was once a week. Yesterday, nothing. Not even a text." Her coffee cup clattered against its saucer. The worst part isn't that they forgot. It's that I'm starting to think they remembered. And it just wasn't important enough. Every person in our coffee group fell silent because Margaret had voiced the fear that haunts all of us here. I'm fading from the lives of the people I love most in this world. What Margaret was experiencing isn't unusual. But what happened next changed everything. Not just for her, but for dozens of other residents who followed her example. Today, I'm going to share with you what I shared with Margaret. Not just comforting words, but a practical, actionable guide to ensure you remain a vital, connected part of your family's life, no matter where you live. Because the truth is, maintaining these connections isn't just about waiting for others to remember you. It's about actively creating bridges back to the people you love. Stay with me. Especially for Section 4, because what I'm about to share might transform not just your family relationships, but how you experience this chapter of your life. Understanding the challenge. Before we talk about solutions, we need to acknowledge the reality of what we're facing. When we move into a nursing home, it's not just our address that changes. The entire dynamic of our family relationships shifts in ways that can be painful for everyone involved. For us residents, there's often a profound sense of loss. Loss of our home, our independence, our daily routines. And sometimes it feels like we're losing our place in the family too. As one resident told me, "I used to be the one who hosted Sunday dinners. Now I'm just the one they visit when they can fit it into their schedule." That shift from being the center of family life to feeling like an afterthought can trigger deep feelings of abandonment, even depression. Studies show that nursing home residents who feel disconnected from their families have significantly higher rates of both physical and mental health decline. But here's what's important to understand, and I say this with deep compassion. Your family is struggling too. Your adult children may be wrestling with guilt, anxiety, and the emotional weight of seeing you in this new environment. Many are balancing careers, their own children, and sometimes caring for multiple older relatives at once. I remember my daughter Lisa's face the day she helped me move in. She tried to hide it, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. Later, she confessed that she felt like she was failing me somehow, despite knowing this was the best decision for my safety. The distance isn't just physical. There are emotional barriers too. Family members often don't know what to say or do during visits. Many worry they'll upset you by talking about their lives on the outside. Some find the nursing home environment uncomfortable or intimidating. And most painfully, many struggle with seeing you in a different role than they've known their whole lives. There's another challenge we rarely discuss: the nursing home environment itself. Staff are often overwhelmed. Activities may conflict with family visit times, and privacy for meaningful conversations can be limited. Understanding these challenges doesn't make them disappear, but acknowledging them is the first step toward finding solutions that work for everyone. Because maintaining these connections isn't about blame or guilt, it's about finding new ways to bridge the gap. As Margaret discovered, the key isn't to sit and wait for things to improve on their own. It's to take thoughtful, deliberate action to remain an active presence in your 2. Creating your legacy. One of the most powerful ways to ensure you remain present in your family's life is to become the keeper and sharer of your family's legacy. Think about it. You possess stories, wisdom, and memories that no one else in your family has. You are the living connection to your family's history. And when you actively share that history, you don't just preserve the past, you make yourself indispensable to the family's understanding of itself. Margaret, who I mentioned earlier, discovered this quite by accident. After our conversation, she began writing down stories from her childhood. Growing up during the Depression, her father's work in the steel mills, the day her brother came home from the war. She didn't have any grand plan. She was simply passing the time. But when her granddaughter Jenny visited and noticed the notebook, everything changed. Jenny, a high school student working on a history project, was fascinated. She began recording Margaret's stories on her phone. Those recording sessions became the highlight of both their weeks. Soon, Margaret's son, who had been those increasingly infrequent calls, began joining the sessions. Within months, what started as simple storytelling evolved into a family history project that involved 3 generations. You can create this kind of legacy connection too, in ways that match your abilities and interests. Document your life story. You don't need to write a complete autobiography. Start with specific memories: your first job, how you met your spouse, the day your children were born. If writing is difficult, ask a staff member to help you record these stories, or use a simple voice recorder. James, a 92-year-old veteran in our memory care unit, couldn't write due to severe arthritis, but his son brought in a simple recording device with large buttons. James recorded short stories whenever he felt up to it. These recordings became treasured family possessions, and a reason for regular visits as family members brought questions about different chapters of his life. Share family traditions and recipes. The holidays are coming up, and no one knows the secret to your pumpkin pie or why you always put an orange in Christmas stockings. These traditions matter. Write them down, explain their origins, pass on the recipes that have defined family gatherings. Create a family wisdom book. What life lessons would you want your great-grandchildren to know? What values matter most to you? What advice would you give about marriage, raising children, or handling hardship? These reflections become a way for you to influence future generations you may never meet. Organize family photographs. If you have photos with you, sorting and labeling them can be invaluable. You're the only one who knows who's who in those fading images from the 1950s. When family visits, these photos become natural conversation starters. Record your medical history. This might seem mundane, but creating a detailed family medical history can be an invaluable gift to younger generations, and a reason for them to consult with you about important health decisions. What makes these legacy activities so powerful is that they position you as a giver rather than a receiver. You're not just someone to visit out of obligation. You're an essential resource, the keeper of family knowledge that can't be found anywhere else. Elena, an 84-year-old resident, put it beautifully. When I started sharing our family's stories, my relationship with my daughter changed. I wasn't just her aging mother who needed care. I was the keeper of her history, the one who could tell her where she came from. That changed everything. Establishing communication routine. In today's world, there are more ways than ever to stay connected with family. But ironically, all these options sometimes lead to less meaningful communication. The key is establishing consistent, manageable routines that work for everyone involved. When I first moved in, my family and I fell into a common trap. There were no clear expectations about how often we'd talk or visit. I was hesitant to bother them, and they were afraid of not doing enough. The result? Communication that was sporadic, often rushed, and left everyone feeling vaguely dissatisfied. The turning point came when my granddaughter Emily suggested something simple: a family communication calendar. Together, we created a realistic schedule. 1. A family video call every Sunday at 4 p.m. 2. Quick check-in calls with my daughter on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. 3. An in-person visit on the first Saturday of each month. 4. Text messages and photos could happen anytime. This calendar accomplished two crucial things. It gave me regular connection to look forward to, and it relieved my family of the constant low-level guilt about whether they were doing enough. When we all knew when we'd next connect, both sides could relax. Here's how you might create your own communication routine. First, assess what's realistic. Consider your family's schedule, distance, and other commitments. A son who lives across the country can't visit weekly but might manage monthly video calls. Be honest about what's sustainable long-term. Prioritize quality over quantity. One meaningful 30-minute conversation is worth more than 5 rushed calls where no one's really present. Barbara, one of our residents, and her daughter have coffee dates every Wednesday morning via video call. They both make coffee and spend 20 minutes catching up as if they were at a cafe together. Embrace technology, but keep it simple. Today's technology offers amazing ways to stay connected, but it needs to work for everyone. 1. Video calls through platforms like FaceTime, Zoom, or Skype can make conversations more engaging. 2. A family group chat can keep you updated on daily happenings. 3. Photo sharing apps allow you to see grandchildren's activities in real time. 4. Voice messages can be easier than typing for many residents. Our nursing home, like many others, offers technology assistance. Don't hesitate to ask staff for help setting up these tools. Many facilities also have computer stations or tablets residents can use. But what if technology isn't accessible or comfortable for you? There are still powerful ways to maintain connection. 1. Scheduled phone calls at times when you're typically feeling your best. 2. A regular exchange of letters or cards. Physical mail remains meaningful in a digital age. 3. A family member who serves as a news reporter, calling to share updates from other family members. 4. A shared journal that travels between you and family members, with each person adding entries. Make it easy for family to include you. Be specific about when you're available and what kinds of communication work best. If mornings are when you have the most energy, let them know. If hearing is difficult on the phone, suggest video calls where you can see faces and read lips. Frank, who has significant hearing loss, found phone calls frustrating. Instead, he and his family use a simple messaging app where they exchange short texts and photos throughout the day. It's less immediate than a call, but the regular connection has actually increased their communication. The goal is to create a rhythm of communication that becomes part of everyone's routine. Not an extraordinary effort, but simply the way your family stays connected. When my Sunday video call with the family became as much a part of their weekly rhythm as their Monday staff meeting or Friday movie night, I knew we'd found our balance. 4. Making visits meaningful. When family does visit in person, the quality of that time together matters far more than the duration. Many residents tell me they spend days anticipating a visit, only to find themselves feeling oddly disconnected or at a loss for words when their loved ones arrive. This was certainly true for me. Those first few visits after I moved in had an awkwardness I hadn't expected. My daughter and I would exhaust our small talk in the first 15 minutes, then spend the next hour in a strange limbo, her checking her phone, me feeling increasingly convinced I was boring her. The breakthrough came when I remembered what we used to enjoy together before the nursing home: strategy games. The next time she visited, I had a chessboard set up in the corner of the visitor lounge. That simple board gave us a shared focus, something to do together rather than just sit and talk. The conversation flowed naturally around the game, and when she left, both of us felt genuinely refreshed by the connection. Here's how you can make visits more meaningful. Plan activities in advance, but make them meaningful, not just time fillers. The key is choosing something that, first, connects to who you were before the nursing home. My daughter and I always debated politics. It was our thing. Now I save newspaper clippings of interesting articles all week before her visits. Last weekend, she arrived saying, "I only have an hour, Dad." But our debate about the city council election kept her here for nearly 3. Why? Because for that time, I wasn't Dad in the nursing home. I was still her intellectual sparring partner. Second, creates a reason for them to return. Phyllis down the hall started a 2-person book club with her granddaughter. They read the same book between visits, then discuss it when together. Her granddaughter now shows up like clockwork every other Sunday, excited to debate plot twists and characters. Simple ideas that work exceptionally well. 1. An ongoing chess or Scrabble game where you make one move per visit. 2. A family history recording project that builds over time. 3. A TV series you watch one episode of together but never watch ahead. 4. A collection you work on together. Phyllis and her granddaughter collect unique bookmarks. Doris, who taught art for 40 years, noticed her grandchildren's visits becoming shorter and dominated by awkward small talk. Now she keeps sketch pads by her bed. "Draw how school made you feel today," she'll say as soon as they arrive. As they draw, the real conversations begin to flow. What started as 15-minute dutiful visits have become 2-hour connections her grandchildren now initiate themselves. Create conversation starters. Sometimes family members want to talk but don't know where to begin. Help them with 1. A list of questions you'd like to be asked about your life. 2. Updates about other residents or staff they've met. 3. Current events you've been following and have opinions about. 4. Questions about their work, studies, or interests. I keep a small notebook with things I want to remember to ask my family. This not only ensures meaningful conversation, but shows them I'm still engaged with their lives. Consider the environment. If your room is small or you share it with another resident, explore other spaces in the facility. 1. Gardens or outdoor seating areas. 2. Visitor lounges. 3. Private dining rooms. Many facilities allow these to be reserved. 4. Nearby cafes or restaurants if you're able to go out, manage emotional transitions. The beginnings and endings of visits can be emotionally charged. For arrivals, give everyone a moment to settle in. A simple ritual like offering a glass of water or showing a new picture on your wall can ease the transition. For departures, often the most difficult part, create a goodbye ritual that acknowledges feelings while looking forward. I always end visits by planning something specific for next time. When you come on Saturday, bring that book we talked about. Or, next time, let's try that new card game. Robert, a 90-year-old resident, developed a beautiful goodbye ritual with his granddaughter. They always end visits by sharing one thing they're grateful for from their time together and one thing they're looking forward to next time. This simple practice transforms the sadness of parting into gratitude and anticipation. Address the elephant in the room. If visits have been infrequent or there's unspoken tension, sometimes the most meaningful approach is direct but gentle communication. "I've missed seeing you, and I understand you have a busy life. I'm just grateful for the time we have now. These visits mean everything to me. Is there anything I can do to make them easier for you to manage?" When Helen directly addressed her son's obvious discomfort with the nursing home environment, it allowed him to admit he found it distressing to see her there. This honest conversation led to some visits taking place in the garden instead, where both felt more at ease. Remember, the goal isn't to fill every minute with activity or conversation, but to create space for genuine connection. Some of the most meaningful visits include comfortable silence, sitting together, watching a 6. Building new traditions. One of the most profound losses many nursing home residents experience is the loss of family traditions. Those holiday gatherings, birthday celebrations, or simple routines that defined family life for decades. When you can no longer host Thanksgiving dinner or continue the family's summer camping tradition, it can feel like the threads that held your family together are unraveling. But what I've learned, both personally and from countless residents over the years, is that traditions can be adapted and reinvented. Sometimes these new traditions actually create even deeper connections than the old ones. Martha, a 91-year-old resident with a large extended family, had always hosted elaborate Christmas Eve celebrations at her home. Her first December in the nursing home was deeply depressing for her, until her family surprised her by transforming a corner of the dining room into a miniature version of her living room, complete with familiar decorations and her famous cookie recipe baked by her granddaughters. That adapted tradition has continued for 3 years now, growing more meaningful each time. Here's how you can build new traditions that keep your family connected. Adapt existing family traditions to your current setting. Start by identifying which elements of important traditions can be transplanted. If you always cooked certain foods, share the recipes and supervise the preparation. If you have cherished decorations, ask family to bring them to your room during holidays. If certain games or activities were central to gatherings, find ways to continue them. When I could no longer host our family's traditional New Year's Day brunch at my home, my daughter started bringing the key elements to me: the special coffee cake, the annual family prediction game, and the champagne toast. Though the setting changed, the meaning remained. Create new rituals specific to your nursing home life. Rather than trying to perfectly replicate the past, establish new traditions that work in your current circumstances. A monthly family dinner in a private dining room at the facility, a weekly dessert hour where different family members bring treats to share. Seasonal decorating parties where family helps transform your room. A quarterly family night where relatives join in facility activities. Richard, who loved gardening all his life, started a new tradition with his grandchildren. Each spring, they plant a container garden outside his window, and the children take turns coming to help tend it throughout the summer. This simple ritual has given them regular, purposeful visits and connects to his lifelong passion. Involve your family in nursing home events. Most facilities host holiday celebrations, music performances, and other special events. Actively invite family to these, emphasizing how meaningful their presence would be. The Christmas concert here is actually quite lovely, and I've reserved seats for you. It would mean so much to have you there. There's a Father's Day barbecue next weekend. Could we make it our special lunch together this month? When my granddaughter's school choir performed at our facility's Valentine's Day event, it transformed a routine institutional activity into a deeply personal family moment. Participate in community events with family. Look for opportunities that extend beyond the nursing home walls. Local concerts or performances, religious services, community festivals or farmers markets, restaurants near the facility for special occasion meals. Georgia, despite mobility challenges, attends her church's monthly community breakfast with her son. This regular outing gives her connection not just with family but with her broader community. Create traditions around life transitions. Family milestones continue, and finding ways to participate maintains your role in these important moments. Video calls for graduations or weddings you can't attend. Special nursing home visits to show off new babies. Pre-prom or first day of school visits in formal attire. Job interview or new job debriefing sessions. When Harold's granddaughter couldn't bring her full wedding party to the nursing home, she and her fiancé came in their wedding attire the day before for a special blessing from her grandfather. This became so meaningful that other grandchildren in the family have continued this tradition. The key to successful new traditions is flexibility and focus on what matters most. When Dorothy realized she could no longer prepare her famous Thanksgiving dinner, she initially refused to participate in any celebration. But when her daughter asked her to dictate the exact preparation methods while the family cooked, she discovered that sharing her knowledge, the wisdom behind the tradition, was actually more satisfying than the physical preparation had been. New traditions don't have to be elaborate. Sometimes the simplest rituals become the most meaningful. Edward and his adult children end every visit by sharing one good thing that happened since they last saw each other. This simple practice has deepened their conversations and ensures every visit, no matter how brief, includes a moment of genuine connection. Second, nurturing relationships, despite distance. Maintaining close relationships, despite physical separation, is perhaps the greatest challenge nursing home residents face. This is especially true for relationships with younger family members, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, who may have less understanding of your situation and shorter attention spans for visits. Yet these relationships with younger generations often provide the greatest joy and sense of continued purpose. They're worth the extra effort to nurture and maintain. I witnessed this transformation with Vincent, an 88-year-old former science teacher who rarely saw his grandchildren after moving to our facility. Their visits were brief, awkward, and obviously obligatory. But Vincent discovered that sharing his knowledge still captivated them. He began creating simple science experiments they could do together during visits. Soon, the grandchildren were calling him Professor Grandpa and eagerly anticipating their laboratory time. Here are strategies to nurture these vital connections across generations and distance. Create age-appropriate connections with younger family members. Different approaches work for different ages. For young children, keep a supply of simple activities in your room. Coloring books, building blocks, easy card games. Read stories together, in person or via video call. Start traditions like a special handshake or game that makes visits special. Ask them to draw pictures for your wall and make a big deal of their contributions. For teenagers, express genuine interest in their activities, friends, and interests. Share skills or knowledge they might find relevant. Ask for their help with technology. Connect your experiences to current events they're learning about. Sarah keeps a special grandchild drawer in her room with small treats and activities tailored to each grandchild's interests. This simple preparation makes her room a destination rather than an obligation. Support family members who feel overwhelmed. Adult children often juggle multiple responsibilities while managing their own emotional response to your changed circumstances. Acknowledge their challenges. I know you're balancing so much right now. Offer flexibility. We can do our call earlier or later if that works better for your schedule. Express gratitude specifically. The photos you sent really brightened my whole week. Make connections easier. Why don't you bring the kids with you next time? We can visit in the garden where they can move around. My daughter Lisa was trying to visit weekly while managing her job and her children's activities. When I noticed her exhaustion, I suggested alternating in-person visits with video calls. This simple adjustment made our time together more relaxed and actually more meaningful. Address family conflicts constructively. Nursing home placement sometimes resurfaces old conflicts or creates new tensions. Stay neutral in sibling disagreements about your care. Focus on solutions rather than blame. What would make visits easier for everyone? Acknowledge different perspectives. I understand you and your sister see this situation differently. Express appreciation for all efforts, however they manifest. When tensions arose between my son and daughter about the frequency of visits, I emphasized how each contributed differently to my well-being. My son visits less often but handles all my financial affairs, while my daughter calls more frequently. Acknowledging these different forms of support helped ease the comparison and resentment. Find meaning and purpose in your new living situation. Perhaps the most powerful way to maintain family connections is to continue growing and engaging with life, giving family something to connect with beyond caregiving. Share your insights from new activities or relationships at the facility. Discuss books, news, or programs you've been enjoying. Maintain interests and opinions that stimulate conversation. Continue to offer wisdom and perspective from your life experience. Harold, who had run a small business for 40 years, began offering informal consulting sessions to his grandchildren as they entered the workforce. These purposeful conversations gave their relationship new depth and meaning beyond the nursing home context. Be honest about loneliness without inducing guilt. This requires careful balance. I miss seeing you, and I look forward to whenever you can visit next. Acknowledges feelings without creating pressure. I've been feeling a bit isolated lately. Could we try doing video calls between your visits? Offers a constructive solution. Celebrate the connections you have rather than focusing on what's missing. Gratitude strengthens relationships. Having your weekly calls gives me something to look forward to every Tuesday. Seeing the children's artwork on my wall makes me feel connected to them every day. The most resilient relationships adapt to changing circumstances. When Florence could no longer attend her granddaughter's softball games, they created a new ritual. Her granddaughter calls before and after each game to share the experience. This adaptation maintains their bond in a new form. 8. Resources and support. Maintaining family connections in a nursing home setting is challenging, but you don't have to figure everything out alone. There are resources and support systems that can help both you and your family navigate this journey. I remember feeling overwhelmed during my first months here, despite all my professional knowledge. What made the difference was connecting with others who understood, both fellow residents and organizations designed to support people in our situation. Here are resources that can help you strengthen family connections. Support groups for nursing home residents. Many facilities offer internal support groups where residents can share challenges and strategies. Peer-led discussion groups. Adjustment support for new residents. Technology training specifically for staying connected with family. Life story or legacy groups. If your facility doesn't offer these, suggest them to the activities director. Our new chapter group, which I helped start, meets weekly to discuss adjustment challenges, and family relationships are a frequent topic. Resources for families of nursing home residents. Your family members may benefit from family councils, formal groups within nursing homes where families can collaborate. Caregiver support groups specific to adult children, and educational materials about visiting loved ones in nursing homes. Online forums where families share experiences and advice. When my daughter connected with our facility's family council, she not only found practical advice but also emotional support from others who understood exactly what she was experiencing. Technology assistance programs. Digital connections are increasingly important, and there are resources to help. Many libraries offer technology training specifically for seniors. Volunteer programs where students help nursing home residents learn digital skills. Adaptive technology for those with vision, hearing, or dexterity challenges. Simplified devices designed specifically for older adults. Herbert, who has severe arthritis, benefited from a volunteer program where computer science students configured a touchscreen and simplified interface that allows him to video call his family despite his limited dexterity. Legal and financial considerations for maintaining family involvement. Proper documentation ensures your wishes are respected. Advance directives that clearly state your care preferences. Properly executed powers of attorney for health care and finances. Family communication plans included in your care documentation. Visitor policies that reflect your preferences. After witnessing a difficult situation where a resident's estranged son tried to limit other family members' involvement, I made sure my own documentation clearly specified which family members should be included in all aspects of my care. Community partnerships that facilitate family connections. Many nursing homes have relationships with local schools for intergenerational programs. Religious organizations that provide visitation and support. Transportation services for family members without vehicles. Delivery services that can bring items from family members. Our facility's partnership with a local high school brought in students who helped residents create digital family albums, benefiting both generations. Online resources specifically designed for nursing home residents. Websites and applications that can help include memory and reminiscence platforms for creating and sharing life stories. Family communication hubs that streamline updates and photos. Virtual gathering spaces for family celebrations. Distance learning opportunities to share with younger family members. I use a private family blog where my children and grandchildren post updates and photos. This allows me to stay current with their lives between calls and visits. The most important resource, however, is often other residents. They understand your experience in ways even well-meaning family members cannot. Creating informal support networks within your facility can provide both emotional understanding and practical strategies. Identify residents who maintain strong family connections and learn from them. Share resources and ideas through informal conversations. Celebrate each other's family visits and connections. Provide emotional support during difficult times. My friendship with Eleanor, who has lived here for 5 years, has been invaluable. She introduced me to the art therapist who helped me create a family history project, suggested the best places for family visits with children, and simply understands the complex emotions when family leaves after a visit. Remember that seeking support isn't a sign of weakness. It's a strategic approach to addressing a complex challenge. Every resource you discover not only helps you, but can be shared with other residents facing similar situations. Conclusion: cut to Dr. Bob in his personal room. Camera pans across his nightstand showing a child's drawing labeled, "For Grandpa," a chessboard mid-game, and a handwritten letter. Then settles on Bob, who is smiling warmly at the camera. I want to end our time together by sharing what happened with Margaret, the school principal whose son forgot her birthday. After our conversation that morning, she decided to try something we'd discussed. Instead of waiting for her son to remember her, she sent him a simple text. "I've been thinking about the camping trip when you were 10 and got poison ivy. Remember how we played cards all weekend in the tent? I still have those cards. Thought maybe we could play next time you visit." 2 days later, her son showed up, not from guilt, but because she'd reminded him of their connection, who they were to each other beyond aging parent and dutiful son. 6 months later, Margaret's son visits every other Sunday. They play cards for exactly 45 minutes, long enough for real connection, short enough not to feel burdensome with his busy schedule. They now have inside jokes again. She feels seen. This journey we're on isn't easy. There are still days I look out my window and feel the sting of loneliness. But here's what I've learned that I want you to remember. Your worth doesn't diminish with your independence. You still matter profoundly to your family, even when circumstances make it harder for them to show it. Take the first step toward connection. Like Margaret texting her son about the camping trip, sometimes we need to be the ones who reach across the divide first. Create specific ways for family to remain part of your life. The more concrete the invitation, could you bring that family album next Tuesday? Rather than visit sometime, the easier it is for them to respond. Remember what only you can give. For my family, I'm the keeper of our history, the connection to their roots, the one who remembers the context of their lives in ways no one else can. Be gentle with yourself and with them. Some days will be harder than others. Some visits will fall short of what you hoped. The overall pattern of connection matters more than any single interaction. Yesterday, my granddaughter Emily came for her weekly visit. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. "You know what, Grandpa?" she said. "These visits, they're not something I do for you anymore. They're something I do for me." That's when I knew we'd found our way to a new kind of connection. Not based on obligation or the past, but on who we are to each other right now. If the ideas in this video have helped you, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I share new conversations like this every day, and I read every comment. This channel has become a community of people navigating this chapter together, and I'd be honored to have you join us. Until next week, remember, you are not forgotten, and your story is still being written.